What is happening, team? Welcome back to the channel. Now, critiquing other people's photography is something I've always shied away from because photography is so subjective and personal. Everyone has their own unique style of shooting and editing. Who am I to judge? One photographer may be a purist and require no editing on their images at all, and others may composite until there is nothing left of the original image. Also, a photographer's vision may differ significantly from another's. That being said, I have 4 photographers who sent in a selection of images for me to ponder over and pixel peep at. I'll do my best to be delicate and give another photographer's eye on these images. The technical and the artistic don't always go hand in hand, so these are just my thoughts. They might be completely wrong. Firstly, have I got a treat for you? This guy's portrait work is really very good. He sent me in a whole bunch of images and I was finding it hard to pick holes in anything he sent. I mean, this portrait, for instance, has got it all going on. A destitute girl fading away in the murky waters. The message not quite made it into the bottle. Will she ever be saved? You just want to reach in there and grab her out to safety. The colour grading is gorgeous. Those turquoise greens and the whites. The auburn browns in the water to match her hair. I'd be interested to know if he used a polarizer on the front of the lens when he took this shot. I just wonder whether it would have cut through the water to bring out detail in her hair and in the pebbles. Or perhaps it would have just ruined the murky waters around her shoulders. It's hard to know for sure. The horizontal composition works a treat too. Turning this vertical would not have worked nearly as well. Beautiful portrait. Another similar shot here, could easily see this in Vogue magazine. Not a whole lot wrong with this image. I personally would have framed her face a little bit further towards center as to include her fingers in the composition. And I wonder whether placing her more on the diagonal would make the viewer want to look at her face more, or perhaps zoom out a fraction and include more of that dreamy background. But seriously, nice dappled light and color in this photograph. I mean, look at this image. Wow, color grading, composition. Not too sure about the amount of birds in the scene. I certainly would have spot removed this flock down here perhaps, and 1 or 2 over her head. Possibly match the lip color to the jacket, but that is really nitpicking. Seriously great capture. Mateusz did also send in a mountain landscape, which I believe is on the border of Slovakia and Poland. It looks like a lovely part of the world, lots of color. I would have liked to have seen more of the pathway included in the foreground, if that's even possible, just to lead the eye into the scene. And I think I would have faded and added some haze to the far mountains to create depth in the image. Burn the foreground and trees on the right to match the trees on the left, which helps to frame the picture, and color grade for a nice late afternoon autumnal vibe. This guy's portrait work is first class, so give him a follow on the old Instagram and links are in the description. Here's an image from Christian Houghton in Birmingham, who has a shop called Waxy Wicks, doing some really impressive gift ideas, candles and crafting products. Check them out here or in the description below. I love this image. It's a well-composed shot, good layering of items. He set his focus plane on the middle row of candles, which is correct. Using shallow depth of field on product photography with more than one item is always going to be tricky because how much do you want in focus and where do you set your focus point? In the middle. This is the same for group shots of people at, say, weddings. Always focus on the middle row and not too shallow on the aperture. Chris has gone for an f7.1 here, which is just about right. I think he could have gotten away with f5.6, but this is a great product photo. My only thing I would possibly do here is bring more definition to that middle candle. The 2 skulls flanking it have great definition in the eye sockets and nose. The middle candle compared is just a little soft on definition, and being in the middle of the photo, I feel this should be the strongest point of focus. And perhaps artistically have a bokeh effect in this negative black space here, or he could have purposefully left this space for the company logo. His second image is of this lovely girl called Abby. Really nice capture here, great pose, like what she's doing with the scarf just framing that open back dress. Nice Hollywood red carpet pose with the chin just coming round to meet the shoulder. My first port of call, being a portrait photographer and retoucher myself, would be to attend to this shadow being cast across the nose and cheek. Now, of course, retouching is a very particular set of skills which not everyone knows how to do properly, so this is by no means a criticism of Christian's final edit. I would bring the exposure down on her back to match her correctly exposed face, add some highlights onto the nose, forehead and cheeks. A little distraction in the image are these white flowers which we can remove with the content aware fill. and perhaps darken the corners down here too. Then a selective colour adjustment, adding some yellows into the highlight areas and magentas into the blacks. Maybe fade the blacks a touch and define that shoulder blade with some dodge and burn. And one final thing I would do here is give Abby some breathing room on the left hand side of the image by extending the background by a few hundred pixels. A big thanks to Christian Houghton for sending in these images and his crafting expertise over at Waxy Wix. Next up we have some cracking automotive photography from Oliver Lundy. You've probably seen this guy on my channel before. He's one of the best car photographers out there. He's kindly sent in some raw shots and final edits for us to look at, and he said I can be as brutal and honest as I like. Let's start with the Lamborghini. Shot from very low down, probably touching the floor with his camera, and knowing Oliver, shot wide open at f1.2 on his 85mm lens. As the raw image goes, there is the obvious problem of the support vehicle with the boot wide open in the background, which kind of pulls focus. And because this is shot with an incredibly low f-stop, we're losing virtually all detail in the floor leading up to the car. In fact, it almost looks like the image was cropped and placed on a beige blurry background. The edited image, however, deals with all of those problems. He's removed the support vehicle with the clone stamp and object removal tool and done a great job, I have to say. You'd never know it was there. And of course, the introduction of the reflection pools on the floor. A truly lovely edit with that almost black and white monotone hue of blue. If I'm being super picky, I'd have to say my eye is being drawn to the reflection of the nearest tyre. If we zoom in, the reflection is slightly off. The rim of the alloy is touching the very edge of the reflection, but as we can see, we're missing the rubber from the tyre in the reflection, which there would be in a real reflection. It's a very small detail and probably 9 out of 10 photographers wouldn't pick up on this, but because this is a critique video, finding anything wrong in the image is nearly impossible. Back wheel is spot on faultless. The only other editing choice I personally would have made is adding some atmosphere behind the car to add some separation. This could have been achieved in camera with a smoke machine, but anyway, if you want to see how Oliver edited the reflections in this image, he's got a YouTube video which I'll pop a link to up here or in the description. He's certainly taught me a thing or two about fake reflections. The next image from Oliver is the McLaren 675 LT. Another stellar job taking this from a raw file to the finished product, removing all those unwanted trees in the background and a gorgeous sky replacement in its place. Perfect color choice too. When I saw this image, I wish I'd have taken it myself. The only thing I would do here is make a crop. About 50% of this image is made up of sky, and 50% of that sky is dead negative space. So I'd crop using the rule of thirds and place a line along the bottom rim of the car. I know when Oliver posted this on his Instagram, he did exactly the same thing. Finally, his other Lambo shot. The raw file has lots of yucky greens because this wasn't shot in autumn. In fact, it was shot in spring, which he rectified in his edit, going for these lovely autumnal warm tones. Okay, here's my compositional take on the shot. It's a well-balanced shot with good space at the front of the car. Oliver actually taught me this. It's better to have more negative space at the front of a car because it shows where the car is going and not where it's coming from. Cars tend to drive in a forward motion. He's even got some framing happening here with this fence. What I would like to see in this image is more detail in that fence. Again, because he's opted to shoot wide open at f1.2, anything in the foreground is usually wiped out, and we're left with an is this a fence or is this a smudge on the photograph situation. I may have shot this image at maybe f3.2, f4 to give a little more detail in that fence. We still would have plenty of separation on the car, but you know, Oliver does have the most big, beautiful 85mm piece of glass and he wants to use it all. I'm just kidding. I'm just jealous I don't have a 1.2. I would also like to have seen a bit more reflection on the windscreen as the bonnet and the glass tend to merge into one here, but hey, it's a stunning image and a stunning car with great light. What more do you want? Finally, we have some images from Hannah Cohen in Toronto. Check out her Instagram up here, or in the destruction, or in the description below. She's doing some really colourful artistic work. First image was taken in the Valley of Fire, I believe. Lovely composition with the leading line of the clean road disappearing behind those craggy rocks. And the moody sky overhead, really great work. I would have liked to have seen the road sign a little bit further over into the scene, or if this was a cropped image, just have a bit more breathing room on the right hand side. If this was a big budget photo shoot or movie set, they'd probably just dig that road sign up and place it wherever they wanted. So Hannah probably worked with what she was given. It's a great sky, and I may have opted to tweak the colour a little using complementary colours. If we zoom in and take an average sample of the rock colour and copy the hexadecimal value of that color, we can head over to the Adobe Color website and choose the complementary option. And here we can paste the hexadecimal value into the chart to get those complementing colors. Now we can copy those values and compare the original color of the sky, which reveals to have some purple hues. Using a hue saturation adjustment layer, I would sample the blues and try to match Adobe's color choice. Maybe just reduce the saturation a touch, and using Camera Raw, select the sky using the new mask feature and just pump the clarity. Reduce down the texture and a spot of blacks. And I think one more mask using the brush just to target the lighter layer of clouds and give those a bump on the white slider. Perhaps a vignette in the corner using the black slider to create some definition on the road without using that clarity slider. Her final offering is this fabulously artistic night shot. Really great idea using the torch to light up the scene. Lovely pose on the model, or perhaps this is Hannah herself. That line of the body and the detailed silhouette of the coat. It's small details, but those things all add up to making this a great image. If we grab the file information, we can see what camera settings she used. It was a 25-second exposure, f6.3 and ISO 2500, which she would have needed to capture the faint light of the starry sky. 25 seconds is an impressive time to hold that pose without introducing too much motion blur, so good work. The torch is doing a good job of lighting up the building and up here on the wooden veranda. In fact, I would have liked to have seen more of that detail in this negative space. If we open up Camera Raw and lift the shadows all the way up, we can just about see what the underside of that roof could look like. Maybe placing a torch or LED light behind the barbecue pointing upwards would just add a touch of fill light. Also, shooting from down below has created this really nice horizon line, which all collectively make this one of my favourite images, and the idea is definitely going on my list of compositions to try in the future. It has an almost Spielberg-esque quality about it. So that's it, my friends. I hope this was interesting for you. I certainly loved reviewing other people's work. I think if photographers are open to suggestions and seeing a different way to shoot, there's always something to learn from other photographers, myself included. Even the best photographers out there have to listen to producers, production designers, and creative directors. That's what collaboration is all about. And sometimes the best work comes from these collaborations. Anyway, I'm waffling. I'm off to Brighton to do some street photography next time, so I'll catch you then. Give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time.